The Green Mile, the story of John Coffey, played by Michael Clarke Duncan. A kind and caring man who, despite his large bulking stature, is really a gentle giant with a childlike innocence. A man who is wrongfully convicted of a murder, where he is sent to a death row prison called the Green Mile, which is run by prison guard Paul Edgecombe, played by Tom Hanks, who is also a kind man with empathy and wisdom. The Green Mile shows the journey of John Coffey's stay at the Mile, where Edgecombe discovers that Coffey is unlike any other inmate that he has ever come across and starts to believe that Coffey is innocent. Coffey also has amazing supernatural abilities to heal people from sicknesses and other ailments. Edgecombe and the rest of the prison guards have the dilemma of trying to justify the eventual execution of this remarkable man with these remarkable abilities, and are torn between doing what they feel is right and doing their job, in this amazing and mesmerising Stephen King adaptation. So today we're going back to 1999 to revisit the Green Mile by exploring 10 things that you didn't know about the Green Mile. So let's not waste any time and check it out.
Your name is John Coffey.
Yes, sir, boss. Like to drink, only not spelled the same.
Number 10. Stephen King and Frank Darabont's second collaboration. The Green Mile is based on a book serial written by the master of horror himself, Stephen King. The Green Mile was originally published in 6 paperback releases from March to August 1996, with a month passing in between each release. Director Frank Darabont had previously directed The Shawshank Redemption in 1994, which was also based on the works of King, namely the short story Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption, which featured in the King book different seasons. Although The Shawshank Redemption wasn't a financial success, it very quickly gained critical acclaim, and so he wanted to adapt the Green Mile series into a theatrical movie too, and wrote the script for the movie in just under 8 weeks. There's actually a lot of similarities between Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile, in that they are both period pieces set in a prison setting with an inmate wrongfully accused of murder, and both movies go into depth, telling long stories with many interesting and provocative characters. Both movies were also produced by the Rob Reiner company Castle Rock and distributed by Warner Brothers. And Darabont would actually go on to direct yet another King adaptation with The Mist in 2007, but unlike the previous 2 movies that were period piece dramas, The Mist was more straight up horror. There were minor tweaks and changes made to the movie version of The Green Mile, namely changing the year from 1932 to 1935. This was done just so the movie version can feature the Fred Astaire musical Top Hat, which came out in 1935. But other than that, it's actually a very faithful adaptation. Number 9. Casting possibilities. When it came to casting the main lead of Paul Edgecombe, the kind and empathetic prison guard working on death row, Darabont's original choice for the part was John Travolta. But Travolta turned the part down and instead starred in The General's Daughter. Darabont had previously met Tom Hanks in 1994 and offered him the role, and Hanks accepted, something which delighted Stephen King as he had originally envisioned Hanks in the role. As for the loose cannon inmate Wild Bill, the original choice for the part was Josh Brolin, but the part ended up going to the then not so well known Sam Rockwell. Both David Morse and James Cromwell hadn't read the book or the script when they were offered to star in the movie, but after reading it, they were both moved and agreed to star in it. Morse in particular was so moved by the script he was reduced to tears. Number 8. Bruce Willis helped with the casting of John Coffey. Without a doubt, the most important piece of casting with the Green Mile was that of John Coffey. Despite having a big muscular stature, the character also had to be kind, gentle, and have a childlike innocence.
Do you leave the light on after bedtime? 'Cause I get a little scared in the dark sometimes.
Stays pretty bright around here all night long.
In the book series, the character was described as being African American with a massive build, and the Green Mile's production was considering former basketball player Shaquille O'Neal in the part. However, Bruce Willis had previously worked with Michael Clarke Duncan on the disaster movie Armageddon 1 year earlier. And according to Duncan, Willis helped him to get the role of John Coffey when he introduced him to Frank Darabont during casting calls. So Duncan was cast, and he truly is the heart and soul of this movie. Duncan's performance will no doubt by the end of the movie leave you in tears. They really struck gold in getting Michael Clarke Duncan, as he is the perfect John Coffey. And to think they nearly got Shaquille O'Neal. Hey, look, there's nothing wrong with Shaquille O'Neal, but yeah, we could have had John Coffey played by Kazam. Number 7. A Tom Hanks of the ages. Another important aspect of the Green Mile is that it's told from the perspective of an elderly Paul in a modern-day nursing home. Yep, long gone are the days of him working on the mile and having urinary tract infections. Now he's withering away, waiting for his time, which doesn't seem to be arriving. It was originally intended to have Tom Hanks play the part of an elderly Paul, but despite attempts to achieve this, it was felt that the makeup used on Tom Hanks just wasn't convincing enough, so instead the part of an elderly Paul went to veteran actor Dabbs Greer, whom had previously starred in many TV shows and movies since the late 40s. Now, it may have taken 2 actors to bring the Paul character to life. It actually took somewhere between 15 to 30 mice to bring the character of Mr. Jingles onto the big screen, all of whom were trained mice who performed their scenes thanks to small dishes of food seen off camera. I still think that Mr. Jingles should have got an Academy Award for Best On-Screen Mouse. Yeah, justice for Mr. Jingles. Number 6. Filming. Filming for the Green Mile took place at Warner Hollywood Studios in California, on sets designed to look like old-timey death row prisons. Exterior scenes were also filmed at the old Tennessee State Prison, which closed down in 1992. Now, there's something of an urban legend associated with the filming of the Green Mile, in that one day Frank Darabont got so angry he threw a prop doghouse. The story goes that filming was a month behind schedule, and in an angry fit of panic, Darabont picked up the doghouse and threw it. But Darabont has since addressed this rumour, and has put it down to exactly that, a rumour, and stating that it's not true. But if it was true, it would be pretty funny though. Michael Clarke Duncan's stand-in, Rodney Barnes, got the job because he really wanted to meet Stephen King, so much so he snuck onto the set by sneaking in the back of a prop police truck, which took him to the filming location where he snuck onto the set and met the crew. And this little stunt impressed Darabont so much that he was instantly cast as Duncan's stand-in. Number 5. Making John Coffey even taller. Yes, Michael Clarke Duncan was a pretty tall actor, coming in at 6'5". However, in the Green Mile, the actor appears to be taller, with him frequently looming over his co-stars, with the Green Mile giving the actor the perspective of being 7 foot tall. This was done by trick filming and camera angles, so Duncan would appear to be taller than he actually was, as well as tricks involving camera perspectives. And in order to maintain the grand height of John Coffey, the bed that was seen in his jail cell was a much smaller bed prop, as was the electric chair that we see him sitting in. So it was all simple and effective tricks used to deliver the appearance of John Coffey to be an extra tall, looming character. A giant character who was in fact just a gentle giant. Number 4. Case of the prison guard uniforms. There's a major error in the Green Mile, and it's staring us right in the face throughout the entire movie, and that is the prison guard uniforms, as back when the movie was set, the 1930s, death row prison guards didn't actually wear uniforms, making the Green Mile historically inaccurate. However, this doesn't interfere with the impact or enjoyability of the movie, and having the guards in uniform just goes with the setting and look of the movie, adding to that old timely feel. It probably wouldn't have been theatrically effective if we just see the guards in plain clothes, so it does give them unity and a purpose, and we the audience know right away who they are and what their job is. Hanks defended the use to give the death row guards uniforms by saying that Darabont wanted them as he thought that having them in uniforms would look cool. And as an actor, he wanted the uniform to act as a sort of exoskeleton to help communicate subtle aspects of the scenes. But regardless, even in the original novel series, it was explained that the guards had uniforms, so yeah, there's that. Not to mention the fact that Old Sparky couldn't have existed either, as the Green Mile is set in Louisiana back in the 1930s, which back then they did death by hanging and didn't use the chair till 1940. Number 3. Hanks stayed in character. Despite stories of doghouses being thrown, the mood on the set of The Green Mile was apparently a very happy one, with everyone getting along really well. Someone who assured a happy working environment was Tom Hanks himself, as supposedly every Friday night he shouted the cast and crew to a nice extravagant dinner. That was nice of him. Hanks also stayed in character as Paul Edgecombe every time Stephen King visited the set, never to be breaking out of character. It is said that King didn't meet Hanks, but rather the Paul character that he created. Now imagine that, being a writer and physically meeting the character that you created, that must be pretty surreal. King got to sit on the old Sparky prop, and when King asked Hanks if he'd like to sit on it too, Hanks, or rather Edgecombe, refused, as he didn't think it was right for a prison guard to be sitting on the electric chair. So yeah, he really took his role seriously. Well, it was worth it, as he does give a great performance. In fact, the late 90s and early 2000s was a great time for Hanks' career, what with other movies like Saving Private Ryan and Castaway. Number 2. Hanks had to defend the movie. Yep, Hanks' commitment wasn't just confined to the movie's production, but also the movie's release too, as a common complaint that the critics had, which seemed to really stir them, was The Green Mile's running time, which clocked in at 3 hours and 15 minutes. It was felt that this time duration was just too long for a feature film, with the movie getting labelled as tiresome. But thankfully there was an enthusiastic Tom Hanks to the rescue, who jumped into The Green Mile's defense over all the complaints that it was too long, and said that it's more movie for your dollar, and that you can now get a whole evening of entertainment. and quite right too, really. The Green Mile is such a brilliant movie, more Green Mile could only be a good thing, as there can never be too much Green Mile. Silly critics. But that aside, the length makes sense, as it takes its time to tell the story, but without ever dragging, as the movie naturally builds up in an organic manner, which also really helps us to identify and relate to the characters and really get to know them. To which, in my opinion, the movie's length does actually benefit The Green Mile. Number 1. Highest grossing Stephen King adaptation. The Green Mile was released in December 1999 and would go on to make over $286 million on a budget of $60 million, making it the highest grossing Stephen King adaptation for its time. Wow, I guess unlike some of the snooty critics, people really didn't have a problem with The Green Mile's duration. The film was so huge and successful, it was nominated for and won a ton of awards, including 4 Academy Award nominations. It would also go on to be the second highest grossing movie in Japan in that year. It's actually quite rare to find someone who doesn't love The Green Mile, or at least have an appreciation of it. The movie is brilliantly shot, with the film often looking beautiful, despite its grim settings. It's also very well acted by its cast, all of whom give a lot of heart to their performances, and despite its duration, it never feels boring or irrelevant or like extra padding. From the opening credits till the end, you're hooked on this amazing journey. The Green Mile, essentially, is the story of John Coffey, a kind human being, a sensitive soul with amazing powers and abilities that are a gift to the human race. But instead, through injustice, he finds himself in one of the most morbid places and situations imaginable. But through his generous, kind spirit, he still tries to find light in the darkness and see the world in a more innocent lens, and manages to touch the souls of all those around him. The Green Mile is a tragedy. A tragedy in the world has been given a truly amazing gift, but one that has swiftly been taken away. And that is why The Green Mile will hardly leave a dry eye to all those who watch it. It truly is a beautiful movie. If you love The Shawshank Redemption, then you have to watch The Green Mile. It's the law. It's like the two are connected and share the same DNA. Despite The Green Mile having supernatural themes, it generally is one of the best Stephen King adaptations, and it's immensely loved all over the world for good reason. Anyway, I'm Minty, and rest in peace Michael Clarke Duncan. What a truly brilliant actor. See ya!